Okay, well, I'm supposed to be sleeping now, but I can't help it. I have to make a few comments about this. This is my first time going back and trying to grind for the Guardian shit. Since probably the first time I did it about 2 or 3 years ago. And I was a bit traumatized by that experience, and I resolved I'd never go and grind Guardian shit again. But what with the Thargoid War and the massive profits to be made there, I find it necessary to come back and grind for Guardian stuff. I think the last time I came out to one of these places, I stuck around long enough to pick up one blueprint fragment, and then I spent that to get shock cannons. This is the story of my life, more or less. I use shock cannons for everything now, because that's all I have. This time, though, I've decided I wasn't going to give up and become completely disgusted until I had at least 9 blueprints, which would be enough to, I think, to get a decent set of options for anti-Thorgoid weapons of some kind. And so, yeah, I pretty much spent all day on that little project. Now, I do like to take it easy, so I decided what I was going to do with this was I was going to arrange it so that when I make my final run to get the actual blueprint, I wasn't going to have to deal with shooting anything other than just activating the columns. So I made a first round just to get all the the power pylons deployed, but not charged up, and also to clear out all the sentient, the Guardian robots that were going to jump out at you. So I cleared those out in the first couple of rounds, and then I went back and went through once on foot to charge up all the pylons. This is the procedure I ended up doing. And that took me quite a while to do it that way, but I did end up with my 9 blueprints and a good healthy assortment of all these other things that I need for these weapons as well. And it also reminded me of why I hate this Guardian farming business so much. Mainly, I guess it's got to do because you have to use this SRV so much. The SRV, I pretty much hate driving it on anything but a flat surface, because it pretty much gets hung up on absolutely everything. It's incredibly clumsy to drive. I really wish there was a better way to program these things. That's why I tried to do as much stuff on foot as possible. The on-foot weapons are really pretty effective against those robots, and they're perfectly useful for getting hold of those relics, like that one that just popped up on the left. You of course have to get hold of one of those relics so you can drop it in front of the altar at the end, because that's the final trigger that gets you your blueprint. It's always a good idea to get hold of a map before you come out to one of these places. They're easily available online once you determine which system you're going to. The maps you find with Google for these systems aren't necessarily complete. There were a couple of detachable panels out here on the site that aren't on the map. That's not a big deal, though. The other thing that really bothers me about these sites is that they just seem really buggy. I mean, for example, the power pylons. You pretty much have to log out of the game and then back into the game to reset the whole map. That's pretty much the only way you're guaranteed to have all this work. There's a power pylon right there, but it hasn't deployed yet. They won't deploy at this point. They will not deploy. What I found is they will not deploy until you make a journey up there to the main altar and present yourself in front of that one. And then the 2 power pylons to either side of the altar will deploy. And once you've done that, all the other power pylons, when you go by them, will deploy after that. So really the first thing you have to do is go up to the altar and get those 2 pylons to deploy so that you can get the rest of them to deploy. Because none of them are going to deploy until you do that. I don't charge up any of the pylons until I get everything set up though. So first thing I'll do is go to the main altar, get those 2 pylons to deploy, and then visit the upper right corner, which is where one of the robots is, kill him. Get that pylon to deploy, go to the upper left-hand corner where another robot is, kill him, make that pylon deploy, travel down to the lower left-hand corner, there's a third robot there and another pylon, kill the robot, deploy the pylon. And then what I'm doing here is I'm driving up the center where there's a 4th pylon, no robot. Just have to get him to deploy. I might stop here and... Am I gonna stop here? Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop here. Yeah, there's some detachable panels on this column here. This one in particular is the only one I'm really interested in. It always spawns Guardians technology modules, which is one of the things I'm still short on at this point, so I was grabbing those on the way out. And of course you have to drive just the right distance to them before you can target them, you know, which is another annoying thing, because you have to maneuver this clumsy SRV all over the place. I could probably get out and just shoot the thing, but of course you have to get back in the SRV to scoop it up. Aha, and the technology component has become lodged in the column and will not fall. Yep. In the old days, before you could walk around on foot, this would probably be the end of that module. Nowadays, thanks to modern technology, you can jump up here on foot and knock the thing down. That doesn't always work, because probably about 30% of the time when you do that, it's going to fall right through the mesh and become inaccessible anyway. Half the time, if you roll over these things, if you don't roll on them square on, if you don't have your scoop deployed, you're going to flip the thing into the 4th dimension and never see it again, and not get it. You know, that's what I mean by buggy shit like that. You know, it's very annoying. There's another column over here. This one also has a panel that always spawns technology units, so I want that one too, because I'm still short on those. Yep, it's that one right there. Not him. Not him. That one. Technology unit. Pretty much when I get out here, I spend the first hour just wandering around, getting used to the place, because even when you have a map, it's really easy to get lost in these things, because it's a bunch of columns and blocks, and they all look the same. And who knows where you are, really. Here I'm going in the wrong direction. Here I'm deciding to take the scenic route. I've suddenly grown a theory in my brain that maybe I need to get all these relics to deploy, because they all have to deploy. But no, that's not necessary at all. They're basically scenery as far as I can tell. You only need one of them. You have to shoot one of them, get the glowing blue thing out of it, put it in your cargo rack, because you need that at the end, because that's your final offering at the altar to get the blueprint to come out. I've already got one though. So it's back to business. I'm still lost though. Okay, I think I'm getting my bearings now. I need to bear to the right. Okay, now I'm in the loop. And go forward. There's the main altar right up there. Here's the other power pylon. It hasn't yet deployed. None of them are going to deploy yet, because I didn't go up to the altar yet. I should have went up to the altar first. See, after you've done this about 9 times, you kind of get a little more efficient with it. This was the first time. Okay, there's those two. They've deployed. Now that those two have deployed, they will all deploy when you visit them. So now I have to visit them all again. Isn't this fun? This is why I never wanted to do this ever again. Well, anyway, you have to. Anyway, this pad that I'm parking on here, this is where you have to position your SRV at the end. You have to be right on this spot and dump your relic after all the pylons are powered up and the altar activates. This is where you need to be. When I first came out to one of these places years ago, I developed the delusion that I had to get my SRV up there on top there, on that big platform right in front of you. I thought I had to get up there to dump this relic. I had no clue. Well, through the magic of watching other people do this on YouTube, I learned the truth. And I don't know why I'm just sitting here. I think I must have taken a break at this point. I'm probably out back taking a leak or something. Okay, here we go. Now for some action. I'm going to leave the SRV right here because I don't need it for any of the rest of this stuff. It can sit right here until I've gotten all these pylons activated. Yeah, probably the most annoying thing about this shit is just yeah, there's the first one I'm going for. He is now deployed. I don't need that. I'm not going to shoot him yet. I'm not going to shoot any of them until I get them all deployed. I could have done that the first go around if I'd had the sense to go to the main altar first. It's just a really annoying game loop, you know. You have to. It's kind of like a magic spell. You have to. Why am I getting back into that? Don't get into that. Don't get into that. Don't do it. You know, it's like a ritual. It's like a magic spell. You have to go around the circle 3 times counterclockwise and whip out your dick and give the devil your social security number. No, I'm just kidding about that. No. You should never give your social security number to the devil. No. Well, to be realistic, he probably does already have it anyway. Okay, there's the second pylon. Third's one down here. This is the lower left-hand corner on the map. No, I'm not going to show you the map. These maps are all easily available for all these systems. You just Google what system you're going to go to, and then Google up and find where somebody's posted a map of it, and there you go. Of course, these sites are littered with all kinds of useless crap that you have that you don't really need for whatever purpose you're going to. These guardian orbs and guardian sarcophagi and all this other garbage. Whether any of this stuff is good for anything or not, I have no idea. Another thing that really bothers me is that once you've gone through this ritual the first time, and you've gotten your blueprint out, well, the pylons are all still sitting there, still deployed, and you might think, well, I could go back around and activate them all again and get myself another blueprint without having to go through the whole thing from square one. But no, actually, you can't. You can shoot the pylons after you've gone through the first time, and they'll act like they're powering up, but they will not power up. And what's the purpose of, yeah, here's another one here. Okay, they're all deployed, right? That's all of them. You know, what's the purpose of having them go through the animations as if they're powering up, but not completing the animation process? You know, which that's pretty much your only clue that you're wasting your time. Is if it doesn't say they're powered up, if it says they're just charging, you're wasting your time. You know, and then if you do that second go round and try to repeat this shit that way, not only does it act like it's sort of half-ass powering up, but it'll also give you a timer. You know, just like what happened the first time. Only the second time you go around, it'll only give you like a timer of like 4 minutes after the first. Okay, I'm getting ready to shoot. Here's the first one. I'm getting ready to shoot him. Okay, it says he's charged. See, it says energy pylon charged. You won't get that on the second time around. It's giving me a timer of about 7 minutes there. You go back around the second time and try that, and that timer will only be like 4 minutes. And also, as you go around and activate the rest of these pillars, the first time you go around, whenever you activate one of these pillars, it'll add to your timer. That timer will end up at like 11 or 12 minutes. The second time you go around, you get 4 minutes from the first pillar, and the rest of the pillars, no matter how much you shoot them, that timer does not get increased. So you got 4 minutes total to get around the whole map, get back to the altar, and then you discover that you've accomplished absolutely nothing because that altar is not going to activate. And this makes no sense to me at all. What is the purpose of that? There may be a purpose, but well, there may be a purpose, but what I deeply suspect is that there's no purpose whatsoever. It's just stupidity. There should be a purpose in a reasonable world where people put work into making games interesting to play. It would have a purpose, but I suspect it does not. You might wonder why there's like 6 or 7 pillars with relics in them lying all around. Why? You only need one. Why is there like 5 or 6 of them? What's the point of that? Well, there's no point. I mean, you could pick up, you can carry like 4 relics in your SRV. You can carry all 4 relics up to the main altar. But when it comes down to it, once that altar's activated, it's only gonna take one of them. It's only gonna give you one blueprint. I had that thought. I said, well, what if I dump 4 relics on the altar? Will it give me 4 blueprints? No. It'll take 1 relic, give you 1 blueprint, and the rest of them are just sitting there. It's ridiculous. It's also occurred to me, what if I take some of these other useless artifacts that are lying around and dump them on the altar instead of the relic? Maybe they'll do something different. Well, maybe they will, but I'm not. But I haven't. I haven't found the heart to waste my time to find out. This one don't want to power up. What's going on here? I'm not shooting it right. You got to hit the dot. There we go. I guess after I waste all my Guardian stuff buying all the wrong weapons, I'll have to come back here and maybe I'll try that experiment at that point. It would be nice to discover some shit like that, but my suspicion is that, you know, it's a waste of time. There's also these block things with the blue lights on them that spawn completely useless data things like what is it? I don't know what it is, like column data epsilon or some shit. I mean, I expect that's probably good for something, but I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, I got a ton of it. Okay, everything's activated now. There's going to be a robot spawn behind you. He's shooting at me now, but they'll mostly leave you alone. At least on this map. Yeah, I had to put... I finally wised up and put my... put my shields on. But they'll leave you alone long enough for you to get your blueprint. Now that the altar's powered up, you know, you're pretty much cool. You just have to get in your thing, dump your relic, which hopefully you do have a relic at this point, because otherwise you got to go back and get one. Okay, drop the relic. The altar lights up. The big ball comes out. You gotta wait for the reticle. Hit the reticle and scan it. Wasn't that easy? Now do that whole thing 9 more times. And now you're gonna get a few robots spawn up. You don't really have to shoot them, but they drop useful materials if you're not full up on them already. I'm debating whether I want to shoot them. Oh, there's one sitting right there. There he is. They're not real aggressive, really. Yeah. All my weapons and junk is all level 5, of course. I mean, I'm sure that helps, but I don't know how tough these guys are anyway. I mean, it's just as easy or easier to shoot them with this SRV, really, but I just don't like driving the SRV. This is also the point where I realize that I've made the sometimes fatal mistake of doing this whole thing in open. It's kind of a chilling moment when you turn around and see some strange spaceship belonging to a person you do not know hanging in space like that, covered in every useless decoration that Frontier will sell you. Yeah. It's an awkward moment because in that moment, when you see him looking at you, you know what he's thinking. He knows what you're thinking. And he knows that you know what he's thinking. And you know what he thinks about what it is that you're thinking about what he's thinking about. It's probably best just to get the hell out before he decides to shoot you. That's the way I feel about it. I could have just logged out, but I felt like it's probably more sporting to make it back to the ship. I don't think he actually ended up shooting at me. I'm not really sure. He may have. I was running too much like the wanton coward that I am to really pay attention. I don't think he was shooting at me because I probably would have noticed it by this time. But I did get into my ship and noticed that my ship's hull was down to 64%, so I feel like it's likely something was shooting at me. Probably the robots. Yeah. I guess that is him. That must be him with his lasers. Okay. Well, this is the point where I sit here and wonder if I can make it out of the game before he kills me. Oh well, yeah, that might take a while, but yeah, I didn't die. I can't, I was good.
Do not be alarmed. Leave all personal belongings behind as you make your way to the nearest evacuation point.
At this point, I'm wondering if I did die and I just haven't noticed yet. I don't know. Maybe some people would consider this combat logging. I don't know if you can call it combat logging when you're in a ship that has no weapons, and you thought you were in solo. Yeah, there you go. My hull's at 64%, but I'm still alive. This feels like victory. That's what I'm saying. Okay, that's all I got. Heavy duty.